We'll start this demo having already added the customer ID attribute to the second level of flight in order to be able to assign the corresponding passenger to a flight seat. We've already reorganized, executed, and added more airline, customer, and flight details than we previously had. If you've been reproducing the steps we've seen, you should also do all this before moving on. Now, let's say instead of displaying each customer's address, we want to display the amount spent on each customer's flights, that is, the sum of the prices of the flights the customer has registered for. This information will need to be calculated for each customer, since we don't have an attribute containing this detail. For instance, if this is the customer table, the customer full name formula attribute is calculated when loading customer 1. We must browse the table containing flight seats and find the flight price for each seat where this customer is located. That is, find the value of the flight price. Flight final price, a formula associated to the flight table. We'll add up all these prices and load the resulting sum into the grid, along with the customer's full name. We'll then go on to do the same for each customer in the customer table. In order to do this, we'll need to insert a variable in the grid, which we'll calculate with this code, where we'll initialize the variable at 0 and then add the flight price to the variable value in a for each that browses the flight seat table. Upon completion of the code, we want the line to be loaded into the grid, displaying the customer's full name and the price of his or her flights. This is so for each customer. But where is this code specified? It must be run immediately before loading each customer's details into the grid, before loading each line. This is what we call the load event. It'll happen once for each record to be loaded into the grid, and just before loading it. Later on, we'll consider a case where it happens only once, even when several lines are to be loaded into the grid. Therefore, if you have 3 customers, it'll happen 3 times. Let's try it then. Let's insert a new column and, there, define a new variable, flight prices. Based, for instance, on the price domain. And we insert it. We go to the Events section, and among the different system events, we choose the one to which we want to associate a code to be run when the event occurs. Let's associate the code, and press F5 to run it. There are 11 customers in the database. If you consider the one loaded in the first line, you'll see the final price is $6,400, which should result from adding $2,250 plus $2,250 plus $1,900. That was the last flight. This is the browsing list we get. We can see that nested into the browsing of the grid's base table, customer, we can see the for each we wrote within the load event, which GeneXus inferred accessing the flight seat table just as expected. We'll note that, just as in the case of nested for eaches, GeneXus finds the attribute that relates them and filters by it.